Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Create a World. Do either of you two ladies want to introduce Create a World this morning?
Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Victoria McMahon, and we welcome you to Create a World. Create a World is that place and space for us to come together, realizing who and what we are in a way that brings a sense of cohesiveness, that we all have a place not only in this world, but in this whole universe of which the world is a part, just as we're a part of this world and the whole universe. And that we function in these principles, we operate in these principles that in being a part of everything, we're always moving towards the next greater whole of ourselves, of our whole existence. And in this evolution, we discover that things are changing all the time. They're coming into existence, they're going out of existence. And we see this happening every day in our lives and how we live our daily lives and how we pay attention to the living of a life is really important in terms of what is the world that you, I, we choose to create, and how we do it is unique to each one of us. So today's conversation is an exploration, an invitation, and coming with the willingness to be in a listening, to be curious, to know that there is no fix it, no answer. It's simply exploring and inviting the wisdom that we're all connected to. It's that glue that holds us through these times of contraction and expansion, and that we look for those ways in which we operate in that. So I don't know what the topic is, except for being present to what we're present to in this moment and seeing what this conversation opens up for all of us. And maybe there's something that someone who's listening now says, I'd really like to have a conversation about. And we could invite that, because I feel like we've come today in the full presence of what's rising. And that may or may not be in our awareness in the moment as we start. So over to either one of you, Liz or Deb, to just kind of respond what you're paying attention to.
Yeah, I actually would like to. Whenever we get on for this call, we're always on beforehand and talk. Well, there were some things that were said that I can't go into the whole thing because I haven't heard a piece, but some of it really struck me. And Victoria, you said, through times of expanding and contracting, and it seems to me we're in a very unique time of both happening right now, way more than I remember in the rest of my lifetime. And it's not necessarily orderly, even times other than this. This time is occurring is very chaotic for a lot of us because ways of being and restrictions and um, are dismantling, and then ways of being that I guess some of them I would say have been really pent up for a long time, are finally busting out no matter what. And that was part of what was spoken about, was that, how do I say it? Especially because I didn't listen, haven't listened to this one thing yet, but this is what I took, was that, we're now in times to really eat, sleep, be, and express who and what we are, like full tilt boogie. And as I was listening to what was being said, I was thinking, wow, that could get complicated because we're in such times of, we still have the vestiges, or the, I don't know the right word, imprint, let's say, that seems a little too tame, but of for and against. That if I'm really being myself, full tilt boogie, that somehow is, um, not just plain that it's for or against, uh, what Liz is like or what Victoria is like, or if they're full tilt boogie, that somehow, and one of the things rising or expanding is all of that all at the same time, just for the sheer aliveness of it. Because the three of us on this call are very different. And I'm getting ready, um, to go, or Liz and I both, we're going to be going to a workshop. That's really not the right word, an engagement that really could be huge. And I'm actually planning on it being huge. So I've been thinking about what's it going to be like when I come back, so I don't just fold back into a lot of ways of being that I have, that I don't actually think are very useful or constructive. In other words, I don't think, one of the things that was said was, we're in time before the call, before CreateAWorld, we're in times of really, it's not just being out there being fully expressed, it's about presencing what will have us get our soul back. And I think all three of us are engaged in work collectively, the three of us in our similar overlapping work and in our individuated work, that are about humanity getting our soul back. And I don't want to fold back in. I'm very prone to be understated. I have been for years and years and years. Just very understated. That's what I want to talk about today. How does that sit with you two?
That sounds really good because I'm right in the same place. Um, yeah, I see these times as um, peaks and valleys
Mm.
of being, and right now we're for at least on this side of the globe and in this location and in this body, a peak is being climbed, and it's a big one. It's probably the biggest one that I've ever had to encounter. Um, and and it's really scary. Um, because we all of us are being called to make choices in our lives, and I don't want to say we're being forced, but really there's it's come to the point of where we make these important choices or not. We can choose not to continue to evolve. We can do that. We're humans. We have that choice of will, uh, and then there are those of us who can't not make these choices, these difficult choices, uh, because that's where our souls are calling us to really expand ourselves. Um, and so, um, Victoria, you said something about living our lives and choosing how we're going to create those beautiful lives. And um, and I've been hearing over and over and over the last few days, especially, um, it has to be here. It has to be here where we make those choices. I also know that each of us is very unique and individual in what we're facing as humans, um, to evolve. I mean, of course, we all have common threads of existence with each other, and then there are also these unique threads, and so how we make these choices is again unique to us. Um, and so what might be right for me uh, to be with may not be right for Deb or Victoria or any of you who are listening. And so we have to really go inside and look at ourselves and only look at ourselves. Um, I was born into a world where I compared myself against others. That's kind of that was a way of existing, way back in the day. And now we're being called to shift. That's just one aspect of what we call the old paradigm of being, that we're looking at. Um, and so now we're really, really looking at our each individual strands of being. And so I feel for myself, I'm at the part of where I'm really having to nitpick. But the nitpick, the little tiny aspects, what I thought were tiny, are huge, huge aspects of being that I'm needing to shift. So uh, it's I keep hearing dark night of the soul kind of moment for many of us. Well, for all of humanity, really. So I'm gonna say over to someone else, and then I know more will come.
What you said about comparing yourself to others, that's a really good example of what I was saying, the for and against, because don't you adjust yourself when you compare yourself to so and so? Then you adjust yourself so you somehow fit better. There's more agreement, right? Would you say? And
Yeah.
that can mean you shrink, or
Yes.
what I do is get understated so that it fits better, um, where there's more acceptance, there's less uh, energy spikes. I'm trying to say it differently than we say it in normal life because, well, I think that's really up. I think it's really up. But if you're just fully yourself, which a huge amount of humanity hasn't had the chance for a long time, if not all of humanity in a certain way, then if you were fully yourself, then there might be people who gravitate towards you or say, okay, I get Liz, but that's not mine to be or do, and they'll go away. But it's not a for or against. It's just a gathering, or gathering because everybody says, wow, that person's really different. Let's have that one be in this collective. Um, because it's not, we're going to have to be able to be not for and against, or like you said, the comparing. Oh, well, this is this, so, And,
Can I throw something in?
oh, please.
Yes.
So, two things are apparent to me in my system. One is that it feels like we're still operating from, in this conversation, a bit of the old paradigm, new paradigm kind of thinking, the for and against, the normal, not normal. It, to me, life is not normal ever. Normal doesn't exist anymore. Not anymore for me. Or old paradigm, new paradigm doesn't exist anymore. We're in this multiple paradigm, multiple reality, whether we know it or not. We may language it in terms of trying to compare and contrast, like you're talking about. It feels like what came up was, it's a moot point, folks. We're just no longer existing there, so you might as well like give it up. And the other thing that, for me, being a very physically sentient person, I keep feeling, it started before our live conversation, I keep feeling, sensing there's some vulnerability, some emotional aspect that wants to rise in this conversation, that it's being tiptoed around. And I'd really love it if we could operate in our designs and bring it up, whatever it is. I'm not sure, but I'm just feeling it. I am registering it, and I don't have discernment yet. So if I get it, I'll name it. But if you guys can feel it and can name it, let's bring it up, because it may be one of us that's holding it. It may be somebody in the listening field that's holding it, or that we're observing, but something's up. Any thoughts, any feelings on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was tiptoeing around it, but yes, I'm in a very vulnerable place right now. I'm in a place where, you know, I just started with the study of this body of work that we're going to be moving into in September. And I know that when you sign on to be in a body of work, that work starts right then. And as part of the body of work, it's it's all about, well, I'm just in the very first aspect of it. It's about, can you change your mind? Can you change your mind and the way that you've been doing things and being all your life? Can you shift that? Um, and can you change just in general? Can can you do something and be do something differently? Be a different aspect of yourself. Can you choose to do that? So I'm in the very beginning of this body of work, and so yes, I woke up this morning challenging myself. Can I can I do that? I was even noticing the way I was getting ready to come on today. Um, can I shift the even the order of how I'm moving about my life to tripwire the sameness of how life has been so that I can now choose differently. Um, so there's uh, that aspect of being in this new body of work of um, I don't think it was stated this way, but I've heard the statement, change your mind, change your life statement, right? So I'm just in the very beginning of looking at that and also um, looking at my own um, integrity about how I'm living and saying to myself, if I don't practice what I'm speaking, then I am not in being in my authentic self. And so, and as a result of writing the creation exercises, boy, I could really let that take me down, you know, um, because the old Liz would be, reacting differently rather than responding to my own challenge. And uh, so there's a lot just really simmering within to be with. And 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 it's all inner work. It's all inner work. Um, and that myself myself and my different aspects uh have to work with. And so um I mean you could say it's just a conglomeration of where we because I also know that it isn't just me, that I'm certain that there are others out there who are in this same soup, of having to really go deep inside and choose life differently. So I don't know if that helps because I'm still tiptoeing.
I noticed.
Yes.
What is it in us that we are so willing to stay in the tiptoe
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
just state where we're at?
Mhm.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I can honestly say I'm on the cusp of choosing to live my life the same. It's pretty black and white. Live my life the same as I have been for years, or choosing to step up and honor myself and choose differently. And I don't know what'll happen. I don't know what'll happen. So, that's the thing. Life can go a lot of ways. We don't know when we make our choices, right? We don't know
Right.
how things are going to land, and that's the scary part. So that's where I'm sitting, you know, because when we make choices, there's so many variables, and I'm a stubborn Capricorn, right? So I do
And you
look at
named the emotion. You named the emotion that I was
yeah, stubborn
paying attention to. Fear.
Yeah.
fear. Yeah,
You named it.
definitely. Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm not sure what the emotion is. So you've put it out there now. Like, how are we, how are we moving in with the unknown and the fear that goes with that? Like, how are
Right.
we going to navigate? Everything's unknown. Everything's unknown now to me.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
what was it? My my husband mentioned something about the stock market and things, and I'm like, you don't know what tomorrow's going to be. You have no idea. Is it going to bring up fear? Is it going to bring up um that sense that I've got to have a plan? How, it's all unknowns right now. And
Yeah.
how can we how can we be who we are, like you said, our authentic selves, and support each other to walk with unknown? And how do we actually, what does that look like? That's what bubbled up for me.
Yeah.
I'm really struck
Yeah.
by the unknowns, even like Liz, can I just use what you just said for
Yeah,
if she
sure.
chooses kind of being the same, to, to, to say it roughly, or make these other changes to be what she's experiencing as more authentic to herself. You don't even know, Liz, what the ramifications of, quote unquote, staying the same are. It
Right.
may be more disruptive. That's something I
Exactly.
was thinking about the other day. Because, I mean, I guess everybody is, but I'm kind of facing the same thing in some areas of saying, you know, I just have to do and be this and this and this. I can't go, uh, searching for income, for example, or work the way I used to. It's besides the fact that it isn't working, which is kind of feedback, just feedback. It's not true. It's not real to who I am. And I was kind of thinking of the same thing. I could stay the same or I could step out. And for a minute, it feels better to say, well, I don't think I'm ready to risk the other one. So let me just kind of stay the same a little longer. And like pushing the snooze button on, so let me just sleep 15 minutes longer. But I don't know. I mean, it's not really, it's funny, but not funny. And then I thought, yeah, but the ramifications of staying the same. Yeah, and that's as far as I can go with that one right now. That actually really spooked me, the ramifications of staying the same.
Hmm.
And and you're right, Victoria. There's no, I don't even know the word. There's no right or wrong about it. There's no guarantees about either choice. There's no, but what is it that pulls me towards that I gotta be me kind of phenomenon. I just gotta be me. I don't even know what that phenomenon is. I mean, I guess I would name it different things, like gathering back human nature. And in our work together in the field of Tantramat, we would call it, returning to our original nature, being our authentic selves. There's lots of different ways of that's talked about these days. But moving into who you really are does mean things sloughing off, but so does staying the same. Things are going to slough off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it means, what are you willing to take on?
Yeah. Or not take on.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
don't know what I say you, but I'm
Yeah.
talking to myself too. I don't know what I'll be taking on by not taking
Yeah.
on
By
the
not taking
choice.
on. Right.
The ramifications of that could be huger.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I had this dream that I remember periodically every couple of years. It just something happens, but I dreamed that, you know, I was looking at Earth like from the spaceship, like the astronauts, and it really is beautiful and everything. And then it started vibrating, and then it started spinning really faster and faster and faster till suddenly there were two Earths, and one was really bright and vibrant, and the other was dull. And I knew that there was coming a day that there would be two worlds, two worlds at the same time, at least two. I'm not talking about how each human being is a world unto themselves, a universe. I'm not talking about that. And at the time, I mean, I was only like 10 or something. I thought it meant, I didn't really think the good people and the bad people, but I thought more like the ones who could think certain things or expand into certain things. I don't know what I thought when I was 10. But that's what I've come to see over the years is those of us that can, I don't know what I want to, like, even if I chose to stay the same in certain circumstances, I could be fully alive in that or not. That's more what I mean. The people that fully alive. And there's nobody to say what that is but yourself, really.
And I keep hearing um, being just continuing to be the observer is important. Um, in the field of tantra, we write creation exercises and we write observing exercises where we observe just what's there in the moment. And in right now, it's almost for me to the point of where I need to observe in one moment and then just observe again in in the very next moment. Before it could be, I could let the observation settle for a little bit, but we're really, it's pedal to the metal time kind of thing where really it's like every moment is a one teachable moment, but also observable moment. Um, just to be able to hear ourselves think. So it's Victoria. So
You know,
wondering,
I'm going back, Liz, when you talk about the observing, I'm going back to the earlier conversation that it's observing can be created like an activity that we
Yep,
do.
yep,
And I'm in this sense of finding how we are observers as a being in relationship. I go back to that all the time, that that observing is not an activity, it is what is always innately, naturally occurring in us. We may be conscious of it, we may not, we may practice the practice of it. And it goes beyond the activity of, I'm going to observe. It's being in the activity of observing. And there's such a clear and distinct difference for me in that. And I was noticing myself a few minutes ago in that activity of observing. The thought came through, geez, we all just want somebody or something to save our butts. That's what was coming through to me. And then my mind could elaborate on that and say, oh, it was this, or it's that person, or it's that government, or it's that religion, or it's, and I've heard the saying, we want to save ourselves from ourselves. And I added that into the mix, and I thought, wow, that's kind of an interesting little dialogue going on in my head. And how much of it is accurate in this time, that if we can find the connection to ourselves and each other that's beyond that, then what will we be listening to? How
wow.
Right? Mystery is not about saving your butt.
Yeah.
It's not.
No. But as you're talking, I was thinking, and both of you actually, what does observing grant you? And I didn't, and you went one way with it, which is powerful. But I'm actually going to back up to when we, as Liz mentioned, we use um, a series of writing templates that were given to Tantra, whom if you've been on watch CreateAWorld before, you've seen her as part of those of us who are speaking. And what those provide is more access to your own self and literally strengthening your mind, your neural network. They literally help your neurons to grow out beyond where you've lived and been and thought. Or if you find yourself in a place where that's happening and you don't feel very stable out beyond where you usually think and imagine and respond to life, they strengthen your ability to be there. So the observer part is really where we're having to claim our divine nature. That phrase gets bandied about a lot to the point where it's like sometimes I think yeah, but it's actually true. It's actually true that human beings are coming into a time, we are in a time of um, standing in our stature, reclaiming what it means to be human, and that it's a whole lot more than most of us thought about, with the exception of a relatively few greats. But actually, I don't think it's relatively few. I think it's relatively few that get into the history books. And then there are tons of people who um, become that fullness of themselves, that place where you're the observer. Everyone has that. Everyone is that. But it really takes a maturity or a responsibility to stand there and be that. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's what I'm observing. I guess I'm not saying it the way I want to say it, that what I'm observing is my the core of me fighting for her sovereignty.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't want to say fighting. Um, Craving her sovereignty, really. Um, and and so it's very, very powerful. And and for me, observing is my compass. It's the ability to for me, it gives me direction um outside of anything. Uh and in the observing of everything, there isn't that fear that I'm speaking of. There's just, oh, okay, so I take the left step. For me, it's pretty direct, right? And so I'm observing my craving for my true sovereignty of being that goes uh out beyond any lifetime. Uh although I have been observing that's played a part um of me not taking a stand on my sovereignty. So,
That what's played a part? I missed it. I'm sorry.
um, perhaps, what I came in with,
Mm.
perhaps, we each have lineages that we come in with, right?
Oh,
And we uh, we all we all have our own set of principles and whatnot that we live with, and one of mine is that I know I carry lineages, um, family lineages, from way back, from however many thousands of years, and and I know through observing now that it's mine to take a stand on behalf of sovereignty itself, just sovereignty as human being. So is that an activity? No, that's that's it's really taking stock to me. I don't know how to say it differently. So observing for me is taking stock of where I am in this moment.
it sounds
And
like
then,
a powerful navigational tool in the air in
yeah,
terms of your
yeah,
being.
yeah,
And then you also get from there, okay, take that step instead of that step.
yeah, yeah,
And it sounds like craving. I mean, from what you're saying, I'm saying this to the whoever's present with us and watching. Craving is extremely dynamic and primordial. It's not tame.
no, it,
It's like the essence of creative activity, the start, the spark.
yes, yes. So Victoria, I don't know what you heard in that, because I feel like you're great with taking in and then being able to see beyond what the language is here.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I am definitely in a pause moment, in a my I read something recently about entering into the Lionsgate energy portal, and I'm
Mhm.
like already in it. Thank you for clarifying for me what I'm in.
Mhm.
And in this moment, I'm feeling the presence of that sense of the unknown. And so I don't have a thought that
Yeah.
and I'm still really interested. I'm still really interested in how does this conversation today live beyond today, beyond now, beyond this moment? How does it live beyond this moment?
I'm not going to be able to be quite as comfortable or um, neat and tidy about choices, certain choices. That's that's for sure. And I'm making fun of myself a little bit, just keeping it neat and tidy, keeping it, but what would have me or anybody, given that things change all the time and there is no real security in a certain sense, and yet we want that so much. We want that so much. I do.
What is it that you want?
That to know that things are going to go a certain way.
Uh,
Not all the
Good
time, but
luck
just
with that
anything.
one, Deb.
What?
Good luck with getting that.
Well, yeah, it is good luck with getting that. I'm aware of that. Yeah. And it's not, it's almost like I want certain things to kind of just stay even so I can, you know, but I mean, I know that's not real. I know that's not real. And it's getting less and less real by the minute. Hmm. So that's the answer. First response to your question is that it's going to be less and less uh, convenient or easy to, I guess I could metaphorically call it push the snooze button on life. Give me 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Right. And for all of us who are listening, it life is not comfortable now. There hasn't been a steadiness, we so so we can either put on the brakes, or we can get in the inner tube and continue to flow with with what we crave, which is life enhancement, right? Which is what is life enhancing and life giving. Um,
Hi, Liz.
hmm?
Aha, an
Yeah,
aha
yeah,
moment. I'm
yeah,
bringing it up.
yeah.
When you said life is not steady, and yet we need to be in the flow on the inner tube, I'm like, sovereign being nature is the
Mm,
steadiness as we flow down the tube down the river.
yeah,
Sovereign being nature is our steadiness.
Hmm.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's what I know for sure.
yeah. I am. I Yeah, and part of my own struggle has been holding a field the last month that's very secular and not, you know, and being standing in sovereignty, yes. Um, and needing to sit back now whew, to ease ease the being from the holding of that steadiness. So another aspect is how can I continue to be steady and hold myself, my sovereignty still? And it's, like a kid getting their sea legs, right? Trying
Mm.
to stay steady in the unsteadiness, um, and needing rest. Um, I had talked, we've talked a lot about, being the lead bird, right? So, and how in the flock that the lead bird then knows when their time um, when their energy is to the point where they need to step back. So I'm also in that. So I've moved to the back right now. Um, also to rest um and to gain steadiness again. And so part of the conundrum for me is how can I um what does that feel like to then move back to the back and not just completely collapse, because that's what I would have done before, right? But to just be in that same steadiness and that same flow, uh, and replenish the energy stores that are needed then to continue to move up, um, to move through the collective and maintain that steadiness and that strain, if that makes sense. But yeah, sovereignty piece, that's big in the flow. Yes. Yep.
That's really illuminating for me too, the standing in your authentic nature or your sovereignty. I like the inner tube example.
Yeah. Yeah.
The because that can be fun. I've only done that once, going tubing, but the sovereignty that is the stillness or sameness or uh, steadiness. That's what I mean. Inside, internally, sort of, because it sure isn't on the outside in that inner tube. It isn't, at least not where I was. It was not a sweet little gentle flow. It was bumpy and
Yeah. It can be.
but that's the wanting it to be externally or circumstantially steady. I'm gonna have to sit with that for a while. That's good. Thank you.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I don't know if I explained it well. Um, you know, I think as community we do recognize, uh we do know when each of us uh needs a break. And that's one thing that I appreciate, um that we are that with and for each other. Um and so yeah, I keep wanting to go back to sovereignty, but I don't have a handle on it. Um but yeah, I think, let me go back to community, because that that can, being with each other in this field, is also really, really important right now. Um, Not that it hasn't ever been before, uh, but I like that you picked up, Deb, on the rapids, because I have experience flowing in a tube on the Truckee River up in Tahoe, where it's really nice, it's you just flow along with the current, right? And then I've had experience, ooh, um, on the American River. I think it was a part of the American River here in California, where you really had to watch yourself because there's rocks and all, that you have to flow around, so to speak. And that river really takes you, you know, you you really have, only a few choices of which way to go. And so, grabbing onto each other's tubes is kind of is a good thing to help each other in flow. Um, so I'm struggling with my language today, that's for sure. Uh, and trying to really bring being with each other in the field into this as well, into our conversation today. So I know we have about 4 minutes. Um, and so maybe we can each say something, to leave with our viewers. Uh, I think what you've all seen, at least from my perspective today, is a how it's okay to be in the struggle of life right now. How it's okay to be in a questioning of who we are for ourselves. Um, and how it's okay to not know, what we're moving into, and how we can choose in every moment to either be in fear of what's coming, or we can choose to be in fear of what's coming and take action for ourselves in that fear, because in taking action, there's power. And in taking action for ourselves, there's a standing in our sovereignty. So I think I'm complete for now.
I'm really struck with the geese flying in the V formation, and the lead one knows when to fall back to a different position to, get the energy back and whatnot. Because as you were speaking, I realized, well, that goose that falls back hasn't abdicated their sovereignty or their sovereign nature at all. In fact, it's more, it's is that completely intact. It's just taking a different position
Yeah.
for the purposes of, restoring their energy, but the flight continues, and it's a group effort, all those reasons that they may do that. I'm really struck with that. And I'm struck with the um that a lot more movement in life doesn't mean it is necessarily hard or something bad's happening.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sitting with that more.
And I'll I'll set an inquiry for myself
Mm,
and join me if you are interested, anyone, of how to embrace the unknown, how to invite what safety is for me,
mm,
and a repurposing of what safety really does look like in life, in the fullness of life.
yeah, I'll join you there
Yes.
for sure.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we invite you to put comments on the Facebook page to let us know what you're paying attention to and what you'd like to be in conversation with us
Yeah,
for the coming weeks.
yep.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.